Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 28 from Swinging from the Hips. Not our first one of the Monday night, it's our second one on Monday nights, and I'm absolutely knackered after my day job. So forgive me if I fall asleep. I'll try and stay awake as we bring you the show tonight. Now, just waiting for our guest, two, possibly three guests to make themselves available, I suppose. Just waiting for them to arrive. And But we'll be looking at on the show today. We'll be looking at the Plunket Shield right here in New Zealand. That second round happening there. The IPL in the UAE, which is obviously nearing the end, and some of the teams already have played their 14 round robin games. And if we'll have Taz, and we'll be able to talk about the Pakistan going at it at home with Zimbabwe. Well, I think they had the second ODI overnight there. So yeah, hopefully we'll have our guests show up very soon. Morning. I was about to say morning, Simon. Hi, Simon. Nice to see you again in the old chat room there. So one of our regular contributors. So just rolling along. Let's say. There we go. We've just got Adrian has popped up. I'll bring him into the show. Hello, Adrian. How you doing?
Great, Ashwin. Yourself, buddy?
Oh, I just said to the people, I'm knackered, mate. I am absolutely knackered. So for you guys, I nod off. Had a big day. It looks like a bit of a yellow and green top on there. Is that a CD top, is it? Or is it?
Cornwall, mate. I can't get my things around the right way. Cornwall.
Cornwall. Oh, Cornwall top. Yeah, Cornwall top. Okay. Alrighty. No worries. And we're just waiting for Taz hopefully to turn up as well. As saying we'll get Taz in there because we know nothing about what's going on in the Pakistan Zimbabwe series. But I did watch a little bit of it. I did have to say the first ODI, and we'll get Taz coming on later. But have you been watching a bit or following the Plunket Shield?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. So know a little bit what's going on. I've been on Eden Park a couple of times. Haven't spent like all my time down there, but sort of tried pop in like half an hour a day just between appointments.
Yeah,
just to see what's going on. So yeah, a little bit.
We'll crack on into it. We'll bring up the this week. We've basically had. Actually, I'm just gonna look. This is how well prepared I am tonight because things is running very late. But yeah, this week we've had basically Indy go at it with Otago in Mount Maunganui, Auckland and CD, which is the game that Adrian would have attended a few days of or a few sessions, and Wellington and Canterbury. So we'll crack onto it into the Northern Otago game. We'll just have to bring up the summary there, and I will share my screen so people can see what I'm talking about. Where's it gone? Share screen, and it's make sure I get the right one and share there, and then we'll bring that up. There we go. Looking tough one for Otago. Northern always in control in this game, and I think Otago nearly held out in the final day, but finally not having enough, and Northern able to get the win over Otago. Some interesting performances that actually were for Northern. Did you see anything there?
I mean, firstly, how good is that Northern team at the moment on paper? You just look down that scorecard and you just think, oh my God, good luck playing them at this time of year. I think you hope to play them when the international series is on. But interestingly,
yeah, sorry, I was just going to. But interestingly enough, the guy that's been performing for them in their first match and in the second match, Joe Carter, and he's skipper, isn't he? I think.
Look, I'm not sure if he's skipper, but absolutely, he's up there. If he's not the top run scorer in the Plunket Shield, then he must be pretty close to it. He's had an absolutely tremendous season. So it's great when you see the lesser known names sort of rubbing shoulders with these sort of international stars and performing better on the day. It must be an absolute feather in his cap. He's having a great season. I think actually Conway, is it, from Wellington, the run machine that we're all looking forward to playing international cricket.
Yeah, we are.
He's probably top. He's number one. I think Carter's number two at the moment behind him. I think he's just had an absolutely fantastic start to the season.
I'm just going to bring in Taz because he's joined us as well. And Taz, good evening to you. We just started going in around Plunkett Shield. So have you been following any other Plunkett Shield games? Oh.
Yes, I am. Yeah, it's been exciting. Obviously, Canterbury won 2 out of 2. And
yes, they have.
But, yeah,
they have.
Obviously, a few all the Black Caps playing, so that sort of makes it quite competitive.
Oh, it makes it a lot more interesting. Well, not that's probably a bit harsh, really, but it obviously gets a lot more interest in it from people when they see names that they recognise. But as Adrian I've just alluded to, seeing Devon Conway, as I said, everybody's waiting to see Devon Conway in a black cap shirt. But having a look at someone like Joe Carter, who's in this game against Otago, 146 in the first innings, the backbone of the innings, and then backed it up with 54 in the second as well.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Carter, I don't know if you remember, he played for New Zealand under-19s with around East Saudi time, like about 7-8 years ago. And he got like 3 contracts with ND. And then he actually, 3 years ago, he wasn't contracted. So he kind of went in the behind the scenes. And then when he came back as a sort of more of a middle order batsman, or and scoring heaps of runs. So he was opener when he played age group cricket for New Zealand. So good comeback for him. He's, I think, 27, 28. So still got a lot to offer.
He's still got a lot to offer. That's the great thing about cricket. You can start a bit later, can't you, and carry on. Just on the bowling side, I mean, you're alluding to it, Adrian, in terms of you look at the bowling, the performances for Northern Districts, and first innings you got Southey and Wagner with Southey with a 5-for and Wagner with a 4-for, and in the second innings you got Ish Sodhi and Scott Kugelheim. Really Otago doing it really tough when you've got to face that bowling lineup, isn't it?
I am absolutely loving the competition amongst the New Zealand seamers at the moment. You've got these 4 going hell for leather. You've got Kyle Jamieson just producing amazing performances. You've got Doug Bracewell just putting in superhuman efforts. I mean, the stocks are fantastic at the moment for New Zealand cricket in that seam bowling department. I'm just loving to see that everybody is, competing half of their spots because there's no gimmies anymore.
The benefit of it is the fact is that, as you say, there's no gimmies, so that means that you have to keep performing because your performance drops, and there's another guy waiting to take his opportunity. So you can't be that guy that just sort of cruises.
Totally, and it'd be really interesting to see what happens this year with the selections, especially around Test match cricket. I mean, Southey, what an amazing sort of bowler he's been for New Zealand. I'm starting to think they're sort of thinking of more horses for courses with Southey, just picking him on particular surfaces rather than as an absolute shoe-in all the time. On certain surfaces, I would say he'd still be one of the best bowlers in New Zealand. But, on other services where, you might think people like Carl Jamieson or Scott Kugelheim might be better options, Doug Bracewell as well. So tough year for the New Zealand selectors in that seam bowling department.
So you'd be looking at someone like your Jamisons and Kugelheim where you got a bit more bounce because they can utilise that bounce a bit better?
Yeah, I would say on generally flatter surfaces where it's not going to swing. You don't think it's going to swing as much because of the conditions, maybe the weather forecast and the type of maybe abrasive pitch that you're playing on that's not going to allow the ball to keep it shine. So sort of surfaces like that, I think that they might look at those sort of guys that maybe got a little bit extra pace in Southey. Maybe if there's a bit more hit the deck, sort of short left hard, get the ball to bounce. It'd be interesting to see what they do. But while Southey's an amazing bowler, I still think there's got a big part to play in New Zealand cricket. I don't think he's quite the. I think he's going to become more of a horses for courses type bowler in the next season or 2.
Yeah,
so just you go, Ted.
Sorry, so Doug Bracewell scored 100 and Kugelheim. So I think these 2 guys are kind of almost like I don't think they'll push Colin de Grandhomme aside, but these are the guys who are kind of pushing for like that sort of all-rounder, like number 7 spot. And with Doug scoring 100, obviously he's done himself a favor there. So I think like Colin de Grandhomme, that position probably. They've got like a couple of guys who can bowl, but who can like obviously scored Doug Bracewell scored 100. So that's like the all-rounder sort of like genuine all-rounder thing is where New Zealand probably lacks in comparison to like sort of bigger countries. So I guess with these Doug Bracewell has always been rated for his batting, but never really sort of scored big runs, and he's started off well here. So fingers crossed.
It would be a bit remiss not to sort of comment on Otago there. Although they sort of like struggled in that first innings, they fought back quite well in that game against Northern with the 330 in the second. Again, sort of with Hamish Rutherford and oh, my mind's gone blank on their other ex-Black Cap they've got down there, but they've got a few players, but they're not performing. But there's other players that are coming through with Cam Hawkins, Nick Kelly, who's has he moved down this season to Otago? Was he
2 years ago? I think last year.
2 years ago. Okay, yep, right, and then even Ripon, who had a good bat against Auckland, and I think he got 100 against Auckland. He in the first innings getting a 44. So there's they just need a bit more consistency through their batting lineup for Otago, don't they, to back up some of the guys that are performing.
Yeah, and it's really good to see some of their local players. There's a guy there, Max Chu, that sort of scored a few runs. He's a New Zealand under-19 player from last year, keeper batter. And I think what Otago's been a little bit guilty of is at times sort of taking the sort of players that can't quite make it on other sort of districts. It was still good players, but haven't quite managed to find their feet at other sort of districts. So it's great to see them sort of producing their own talent there. Because I think that just gives you that little bit of extra edge if you sort of come from that region and you can wear your heart on your sleeve a bit more rather than just being sort of a means to an end in a job.
I think you've you sound. I was trying to think of the words, and you put it probably best by saying you wear your heart on your sleeve. You've just got that little bit more extra fight when you're from the area itself and you're fighting for the place that you live, born in, sort of thing. So yeah, I think you're not wrong there in terms of just trying to focus a bit more on the development that you've got of the players coming through.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the next game, and let's look at the Auckland Central game. And obviously, the big talking point out of this game, Kyle Jamieson and his hat trick. And yeah, absolutely, Kyle Jamieson, well done, fantastic, and what a leave, what a fantastic leave to pick up the hat trick.
Mate, what a fantastic hat trick it was. I mean, there are hat tricks and there are hat tricks, right? And this was a great hat trick. I mean, he got the ball before a hat trick. He actually got whacked for 6.
Yes.
He got pulled for a 6 and then followed up with a cracking short of length delivery, which bounced like he could make it court slip. I mean, that's a real skill. That's a skill for a seam bowler to run in and get the ball to bounce and move away like that. And then a really sort of aggressive straight one to get through the gate first up. I can't remember the second batter. And then the third one, Brad Shamulian. The third one, I mean, I genuinely reckon that 9 out of every 10 batsmen would have left that. With Kyle's height, the ball starting so far outside off stump on a hat-trick ball, you don't really want to be playing it if you don't want to. He's gone for the big exaggerated leave, and it's just sort of just seen back and just what a beautiful nut hit the top. I mean, it was just a great hat-trick.
The only thing that was missing from that delivery was the cartwheeling stump not replanting itself like about 3-4 meters back.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that was missing from that delivery.
I was fortunate in that game. I was watching that game, not actually when he got the hat trick, but I was talking to his dad down at the ground, and also was lucky enough to speak to Kerry Walmsley, who's one of the sort of Auckland selectors at the moment. And an interesting thing that they said about Carl is that when he went to Australia with the Black Caps last year, he ran the drinks for a lot of the time, didn't get a lot of cricket. But what they said about him is that he really watched the Australian bowlers. And one of the things he really noticed that was different is how quickly they attacked the crease. People like Patterson, they ran in so fast compared to maybe your average New Zealand bowler.
Yep.
And they really attacked the crease that much harder. And working with the New Zealand bowling coach, that's been his sort of plan. Or part of his plan, I guess, to really try and bring that into his game so he could get extra pace and extra bounce and really utilize what he's got. So, him attacking the crease more without sort of losing his balance and his rhythm has been a sort of key work on for Kyle. So I heard, and it looks like if that's true, which I think it is, it's actually paying off dividends. It's fantastic for him.
So a good tip for young kids coming through in it is to, at an early age, just run in as hard as you can.
Totally, mate. We've got to stay balanced on all that sort of stuff, but you've got to attack the crease. If you're going to bowl fast, you got to give it everything.
And then basically moving on, I think it's like let's focus on Doug Bracewell. As I said, 100 in the match, also returning some good figures as well with the ball in hand. 3 for 18 in the first innings and 4 for 96 in the second. That 3 for 18 in the first innings, amazingly economical. That was only off 16 overs.
Yeah. I just love the way he's competing for his spot. I just, I do admire him as a cricketer. I just think, he maybe has had a few sort of issues early on in his career about, fitting the mold. But, geez, he's the sort of guy I reckon you want in a battle on your side.
He's got fight in
my team. He'll love him in my team. I think he's got so much to offer, and he's just another cracking New Zealand cricketer just there in the wings that is there waiting for his chance. Just top gun cricketer.
So do we think we will see him create that, as Taz was alluding to, Taz, you're alluding to the fact that really trying to get a genuine all-rounder. I mean, like, we've got Colin de Gronholm that he does well, but really he's not a out-and-out fast bowler, is he? He is medium pace.
He's a batting all-rounder, in my opinion, yeah.
Yeah, he's a batting all-rounder, exactly, yeah. So you want someone that's going to be equally good with the bat and ball. It would be optimal, wouldn't it, as the all-rounder in the middle of the team?
And it's a great day because they only missed out by 25 runs. So in the fourth inning, chasing 280 odd, and then him scoring 100, that's more than like a number 8, number 7. Like, that's a good effort by any batsman. And they obviously got close enough. Not obviously didn't get them over the line, but I think those sort of innings, when you see them, you probably you'd think that there's something special about him. But like, I've known him for 10 years. Like, I've played some cricket against him at like sort of Hook Cup cricket, and even then he was known to be like a all rounder, but never really sort of this is the first time sort of he started off well with the bat. So I hope he kind of gets that number 7, number 6, number 7 spot at some stage.
Did you pick up his wicket in the Hawke Cup?
Caught and bowled.
Oh,
yes.
No, caught and bowled. Hey, look, one player I'd like to sort of mention, because I sort of noticed, is like Sean Solia. Is he becoming a second innings sort of magic bowler? He did well in that first game. He got a 5-for in the first game in the second innings, and he's picked up 4 in the second innings this time.
I think he's one of the top wicket takers in the Plunket Shield, if not the top wicket taker at the moment. I mean, when you look at that Auckland attack, I would say I personally look at him and think he's maybe the 3rd, 4th type seamer in that attack. But he's just doing a great job for them at the moment. He's obviously hitting a good length. He just seems to bowl that sort of really nice sort of length where, you can just draw people half forward, create opportunities. He's just doing a great. Hey, can I just do a shout out? There's
absolutely
one of the Auckland players, Ollie Pringle, made his debut in the first round of Plunket Shield. And what was really sort of quite cool about that is I was speaking to his father, Martin Pringle, who's used to play for Auckland himself.
Yep.
And he was telling me that Martin also made his debut on the Eden Park number 2 outer oval, just like his son Ollie did, both against Otago. Martin was playing against Ken Rutherford. Ollie was playing against Hamish Rutherford. And there's all these sort of symmetries going on, and Hamish Rutherford was on his first wicket, so that was a nice. I thought it was a nice thing to bring that nice symmetry. Yeah,
absolutely. Just in terms of, I suppose, is there any concern about, say, someone like Ross Taylor, who hasn't fired with the bat early? I mean, he's come back from the Caribbean Premier League. I suppose didn't set the world on fire over there, and has come back over to the Plunket Shield. Struggled a bit, but any concerns there, really, or not really?
no concerns from me.
Now his, I think if you, sorry, carry on.
No, you go, Taz.
Okay, so I think if you look at his strike rate, so I think he's still in that T20 mode. Like, he's sort of still going hard at the ball, which naturally you would, But looking at the shots from the highlights, it's still in. I think he's still seeing the ball well.
No, that's good. And then moving on to the final game of this round was Canterbury, a repeat of the first round game, but this time played down in Christchurch, Wellington, Canterbury. And Canterbury really surprising. I mean, like, obviously they won that game quite well at the Basin, but they really did put Wellington to the sword this time round.
Yeah, just a really good. I think they're a dangerous side, Canterbury. I find them always tough, very competitive cricketers at any level that you play against them. Great to see Fraser Sheet picking up 5 for 25. He was the schoolboy cricketer of the year about 2 years ago. Coming, I think, through Christchurch Boys High School, if I remember correctly. Don't shoot me if he wasn't. That was wrong, but I think it was. And he's came from school cricket. He's found his feet in first class, and now picked up. I think that's his first ever fifer, and
right.
good on him for that. And I think he's a super little cricketer to look out for the future as well.
And I'll put it this way because I like putting it. Two of their imports for Canterbury, helping with that first innings big score. Daryl Mitchell, first season. Transferring from Northern down to Canterbury, and Cam Fletcher, he's been down there a while now, but out of Auckland, getting 100 as well. So they've done well in their people that they're getting into the squad.
You're right. I mean, obviously runs by Mitchell, but if you notice that Matt Henry got injured, so I thought, well, Canterbury might find it tough, to sort of. Will Williams, like, more of a one-day bowler, like, it's wicket to wicket, and and Fraser Sheets, obviously haven't seen much of him, but as Adrian said, he's only young, so they still their backup bowlers still manage to take a fifer in each inning, so which means that they do have enough depth, like, with Matt Henry not playing, I thought, well, Wellington might actually score big against them, but they didn't. So yeah, I don't know if Matt Henry comes back, but
Matt Henry's out for, I believe, roughly. So this was about a week ago. It was 6 weeks a week ago. So roughly, I suppose he's still about 5 weeks left.
Out for good.
I did not know that. That's not good.
Yeah. He broke a finger in the nets while he was batting. If I remember correctly, was the news story that came out. So yeah, he's it's a finger, broken finger. That's the issue for him.
Was he facing Neil Wigner?
Well, what would have been one of his teammates? Maybe it was Fraser. That wouldn't go down too well, is it? A young fella coming in and breaking the old timer's finger, but that's how you get into the team, maybe.
And you know what? It's just funny how Matt Henry got into the team, because two of the Canterbury players had to go to a funeral. I think it was a cricketing funeral. So Matt Henry played half of the game and took a fifer, and Brendan Henney, who he replaced, I don't think he's played much for Canterbury afterwards, because Matt Henry took a fifer, and then
you got to take your opportunity. It doesn't matter what sport you play, right? Got to take your opportunities when they're presented to you. Yeah. That's the thing.
There was a similar story with Mitchell McClenaghan about getting back in the Auckland squad after his long-term injury. He was exactly the same. He wouldn't have played if it wasn't for a guy. He was picked as 12th man for an Auckland game a few seasons ago. Well, more than a few seasons ago now. On the basis just to get him back around the squad, but he certainly wasn't the next bowler in line. And a bowler got injured just in the warm-ups. He came in and played 5 wickets, and then just woof.
Rest is history.
IPL contract, and he's away. So sometimes you just got to have a lucky break in life. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? You look at someone like McClenaghan, and you're talking about someone that with Kyle Jamieson working on hitting that crease. That's someone that bustles in and goes hard at the crease, isn't it?
Oh yeah, just a wholehearted cricketer. So amazing. I just love watching players that just give their all, and he's one of them. Yeah.
Just so coming back to the Wellington Canterbury game, Wellington have to be disappointed. I mean, they've put a good squad together for this season, and they've really have probably underperformed one player aside, in Devon Conway. Obviously, Jamie Gibson picked up a century in the second innings, but Devon Conway aside, the rest of them really haven't sort of fired so far within the team.
Yeah, look, I don't know too much about those Wellington players, Taz. I don't know of you, but yeah, they just don't seem to be firing. They seem to be relying on one, possibly two players, and it doesn't seem to be a collective team batting effort from looking in from afar anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're kind of in like transition because they've got like Ravindra, the left-hand batsman, left-arm spinner, opening batsman.
Ravindra.
Yeah, and then they've got the guy from Auckland, his name, the batsman.
I just had it a few seconds ago, and it's Finn Allen.
So I think they're kind of like putting together sort of a young mix of young and old squad, and they probably haven't found the mix yet. But I mean, like I thought, well, the Canterbury not playing obviously without Henry, I thought these guys would probably have a better chance, but they still haven't. So I guess it's just sometimes they're still in the transition to get the sort of squad right, and I hope that sort of long-term thing it will work for them.
Yeah, it's an interesting sort of journey for this Finn Allen. You know, he came out of sort of a schoolboy, being a bit of a superstar. You know, smacking it around at sort of that young, and then sort of he hit sort of men's cricket, I guess, and then he's had a little taste of first-class cricket. And it's been a real tough ride for him, right? And he's and it's going to be interesting to see how he copes with all of that, and how he sort of manages to sort of get from where he is now to where he wants to be. It's not going to be the easy ride, which maybe it looked like it might be for him a few years ago. And let's see what he's got inside of him. See where because he got a pair in his debut for Wellington. He double ducked first game. Yep. I mean, that's not a great start to a new. And I think second innings it took about 25 balls. He was obviously desperate just to try and hang in there, and get something, and then eventually got out. So, look, he's a wonderful, talented striker of the ball, but it takes more than that to succeed at a high level in cricket. And it'd just be interesting to watch his journey and see where he gets to. I wish him all the best.
Well, it's just like it sounds like so. What you're saying, I mean, like using an analogy out of rugby, where guys carve it up in schoolboy rugby, and then they basically hit the big time, and it's just like, oh, you can't quite run through these grown men all of a sudden that you could do with the schoolboys.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there is a big difference between sort of even good schoolboy cricket and men's cricket. You know, and and don't get me wrong, I think he's got the ability, but it's just going to be a lot harder for him, and he's going to have to just revert to the basics more. I think more often than he has done in the past, and just focus more, and try not to make the mistakes. Yeah,
interesting. Had conversations with Aaron around this actually, in terms of how the likes of a CD actually benefit, where because they don't necessarily have a strong schoolboys competition, and so you end up with younger players playing in the senior club competitions earlier, and therefore adapting to a harder level of cricket, which then benefits them, and you start seeing them coming through the seedy environment in particular. And obviously within Auckland, you're not going to get that, are you? Because you basically have got a strong schoolboys competition, so you got the schoolboys taking it. Do you think there's an element of the fact that those rural teams, for want of a term, do see younger players coming through earlier because they're exposed to that harsher environment earlier?
I do. I think it's a quicker learning ground for sure. But don't get me wrong, I think Finn Allen, even when he was a schoolboy, still played a lot of senior cricket at that age as well. So I think he mixed between school cricket and senior cricket. But because just to get that higher level of competition that he needed. So it's not the magic wand, right? It's not that you wave it, you play senior cricket, and suddenly you're a better player. There's a lot more to it than that. But look, I just think you look at that guy, his natural ability, the way he can strike a ball. You think, he's got a chance to go all the way.
Yep.
But I think what he's found is that he can still go all the way. it's just going to be really hard. And I'm really interested in watch how he progresses.
Takes this challenge
the way
on.
he approaches his cricket in a new environment down in Wellington. Go for it, fella. That's what I say. Give it everything you've got, because you could do it.
Yep. So we'll just quickly go over the table, and it sees Canterbury with those 2 convincing wins over Wellington, are sitting at the top of the table by 2 points from Auckland, and then Northern with their outright this time round against Otago, coming up in 3rd position. So I think Central got the win against Northern in that sort of the forfeited innings game in the first round. So that's where they're getting up to 19 points. And Otago and Wellington bringing up the rear. So that's the table. Early days, obviously, a lot more games to get. And no doubt with Plunket Shield, as we always do, weather will be a factor in the competition. Always is.
It is. I mean, they've got 2 more rounds now before they sort of switch to the Ford Trophy. And then obviously the school holidays is around that Dream 11 Super Smash. So, and then they obviously finish the season in sort of March, April with another 4 rounds. So I think the next 2 rounds might be okay. But when you get to the back end of the season, March and particularly into April, certain parts of the country, it could be really weather affected then.
Yep. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on that, and we'll see how that turns out. Well, we'll quickly move along to the IPL, which is obviously coming to a rapid conclusion now. Well, I say rapid conclusion. The round robin stage is coming to a rapid conclusion, and I'll just bring the table up first, and if I get myself sorted, there we go. So, look, I suppose we can see we've got one team that's actually qualified in the Mumbai Indians. After this morning's match, the Knight Riders have kept their hopes alive whilst consigning the Rajasthan Royals to the end of season celebrations. So they'll be joining the Super Kings in planning postseason parties. But Knight Riders still in there and move back into 4th position. But anyone from the sort of the Sunrisers, Hyderabad through could make it into the top 4 or into the qualifiers.
It's been a pretty tight season, eh? I mean, it's really only been to this round where, apart from probably Chennai, that it's been hard to pick the top 4. Who have Sunrisers got going into the last round? That's
let's I'll bring that. I'll just scroll along the bottom and it should tell us Mumbai. So they got top of the table, they've got the qualifiers. So that'll be an interesting one, because you might see the Mumbai Indians maybe giving some of their wider squad a chance, or they might want to keep the momentum going and just keep going. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
They're playing at Sharjah, so that's like the postage
stamp.
yeah, with Mumbai, like Rohit Sharma and stuff, like that's a big scoring ground for them.
Yeah. So it's the other thing that's been interesting. I mean, like, I know we did talk early days, Taz, in terms of Sharjah's the small the postage stamp, but there's been some big scores at the other grounds as well, over 200. But they seem to have dried up a bit of late in terms of those big 200 scores that we were getting there for a while.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if they're using the same pitch again and again. They're playing more games, because PSL the season is shorter, and you can just easily track. With IPL they play a lot more games.
Right.
And you got to tracks, and India generally produces good spinners. So on a flatter day, short boundaries, you score runs. But if there's any spin, then India's got enough local spinners that they kind of can contain.
Right. Yep. And it's just like in sort of moving on to sort of like the Kings 11, they look like they had their sort of mojo back. They had 4 wins in a row. They've now followed it up with 2 losses, and look like after getting their season back on track, might sort of living on the edge. Looks like their season will probably be done and dusted.
So, do they have any more games left? Or I think that was
no, they don't.
14
no,
games
they don't.
gone, so they don't have.
There's
any more
14
games?
games gone. So basically, it's a case. The Knight Riders are also basically done and dusted. So really, the only way that the Kings 11 are basically gone. So unless there's some sort of miracle. Well, no, actually, no, it can't happen. because the Knight Riders are finished as well. So
No.
it's not like the Hyderabad could have a really bad game and their net run rate might crash. But yeah, as I said, Kolkata, no, that won't happen. And then Delhi and the Challengers, Royal Challengers, have already got 14. So Kings 11 are out. That's,
so basically, it's Sunrisers. If they win, looking at their net run rate, they're going to go above Kolkata Knight Riders. So
yep.
I would say that it really comes down to if Sunrisers can beat Mumbai Indians, then KKR are gone, and then basically, and that's going to decide your fourth place spot really, because Mumbai are going to be top, and then the other one, who's going to leapfrog Challengers, Bangalore or Delhi? They're obviously the other two teams playing each other, and it's quite important if you finish in the top two. Because of their sort of playoff system, I think the winner of that game goes on to the final.
That's right. 1 and 2. 1 and 2, yeah.
3 and 4, right?
That's right. Exactly
so
right.
Delhi and Royal Challengers Bangalore is actually going to be a massive, massive game.
That's a shame that Sharubin hasn't been able to make it on the show because his team is basically, well, actually, interestingly, both teams, the Royal Challengers and Delhi Capitals, on a losing streak. Both of them.
Yep, they are. Yeah. 4 and 3.
How much in a competition like this actually does that form, that continuing form, actually mean anything going into the next game?
Do you know, I used to think it meant a lot, but as I got older, I feel it's less and less because, especially in a format like T20, which can come down to such, it's such a high risk game for, whether ball clears the boundary by a meter or you get caught, it can come down to such fine margins. I just think that it's, I just think they just back themselves every game, these top players. And at this level, I think anyone's on the day, genuinely, anyone.
I tend to agree with you. That's why I sort of asked that question, because my thought pattern was basically it's like like what a rugby coach basically said a few years ago, and he said basically you just flush the dunny and move on, don't you? It's just like it's a bad game. You put it away. You move on to what actually has to happen in the next game. You don't worry about what's gone before it.
Yeah, and they generally have a big support staff as well with the team. So I'm sure they would have some sort of sports psychologists involved in some capacity as well. Obviously, generally we say momentum, helps, obviously. But on the other hand, they've got sort of experienced coaches and a lot of support staff around the team. They probably sort of know how to come back from the upset or from a losing streak. So hopefully it'll be a good game.
Every team has to have a sports psychologist these days, don't they? You can't travel without a sports psychologist. It's not the done thing. Adrian, you're going to say something, mate?
Oh, look, totally. I think every workplace needs a psychologist these days.
That's what it comes down to. Look, we'll get. Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say they've got so many good players waiting in the wings as well. I mean, they can just bring in new players. They can add a little bit of, how good was Lockie Ferguson when he came in, late in the competition? Just absolutely set the world on fire, quickly. And all it takes is a spark like that, a new player, new energy.
But he hasn't been used regularly since he made that big. Has he got an injury, or is they just the fact that they're actually ranking some of their bowlers higher than him, and therefore they're bringing him back? And what's the story there? Do we know?
He's played. He's definitely played.
Yeah, he's definitely played.
Yeah.
But I think it's the 4 overseas players quota, and that's where sort of they kind of choose when to play.
Right. Okay. Sounds like Tez's modem struggling today.
You sound like I'd sound if I was facing Lockie Ferguson.
So, bringing up the old run charts, and KL Rahul still maintains his position at the top of the leaderboard there for the Kings 11, who are out of the competition. I find it really interesting that the guy who's at the top of the table is actually in a team that's out of the competition.
It's a team game, Ashwin.
Team game. If that's it. Yeah, exactly. We talked about this with the Plunket Shield, isn't it? The fact is that you can't just rely on one or two players to do the job. Everybody has to chip in with something.
Yeah. Look at Faf there, number 3, you know,
Yep.
and Chennai has
Super
struggled.
Kings.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And then David Warner coming in at 4 even, and them Sunrise is on the edge of it, basically. So when we look at it, out of the top 5, in fact, even if we look at Shubman Gill, we look at those players, and 4 of the 5 and teams that are basically not exactly at the top of the table.
Yeah,
totally.
Interesting thing. I think Imran Khan or someone said about tournaments. He said the batsmen win you games and the bowlers win you tournaments. So basically, like, you know, it'll be interesting which bowlers are on the top.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second for sure. The only thing I've been a bit critical for KL Rahul, and this maybe be because of what how the batters have gone around him. His strike rate's probably been on the low side for someone that's got so many runs, but that could be because the other, you know, you can't exactly go at it if you've got wickets falling all the time at the other end.
Jeez, the game's changed, mate. Over 130 is a bad strike rate.
Well, it is, isn't it? The game has changed a lot, hasn't it?
It has.
But that is it's a classic. I mean, obviously over lockdown we've got to watch a lot of World Series from back in the 80s, and you know, 230 was a good score in a 50 over match, wasn't it?
Yeah, totally. That was absolutely. Hey, an interesting number 10 on the list, Ewan Morgan there from England, scoring 418 runs, batting quite a way down the order as well.
Down the order, yeah.
So that's a pretty good return from someone who, you know, everyone seems to be saying should be higher up. So, yeah.
And he showed that again today.
Yeah. Yeah, quality player.
So we go to the bowling, and we'll look at the most wickets, and we'll see. So Rabada's been overtaken by Jasprit Bumrah in top position, and I suppose that lines up. Finally, the bowling sort of makes sense when you've got Jasprit Bumrah, with the Indians have already qualified, and he's at the top of the table with 23 wickets.
And they've got 2 out of top 5, so I guess, you know, that's
yeah,
the bowlers
Trent
are winning
Bolt there as well,
or like taking them to further.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Archer there? It's interesting because he's done well getting wickets, but a lot of the times I'm watching the highlights. I'm generally watching highlights, and he does get a bit of tap though, doesn't he?
I've seen him bowl some tight spells as well. I mean,
Yep.
I don't think he gets tap all the time. Geez, I just think he's an absolute top quality T20 bowler, and yeah, love him in my team.
No, you wouldn't turn him down, would you?
I mean, he's gone for 6.5, so I think that's probably, you know, that's still on the lower side. Like if you see the top 5 bowlers, he's probably gone for the least amount of run per over. So I was
going to say the table makes a liar of me.
Yeah, the back end of the innings, he probably leaked a few runs, but who wouldn't? You know, it's top competition, and you know, sort of.
Yeah,
but look at Rashid Khan's runs per over there, just over 5. That is just
ridiculous.
Just
ridiculous.
Yeah,
no. And this is like, and we'll go to that table now actually, and we'll look at. There he is at the top of the order. 5 runs and over in T20 cricket. That's just remarkable. And when you consider he's not from a powerhouse cricketing nation, is he?
No, he's just set the cricketing world alight. Go Taz. Yeah.
Yes, I think Afghanistan in the last 3 years have produced heaps of spin bowlers, and he's another young guy who played in the Big Bash leg spinner. So I think they've spin bowling wise, I think Afghanistan is up there with any other nation, especially in the shorter formats. So
well, you've got Nabi at 3
bowlers
as well.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Mohammad Nabi and Rashid Khan, 2 Afghani bowlers in the top 3 in the IPL. Speaks volumes for the spin bowling stocks anyway.
Yeah.
So we look at that, but it's I suppose Tez, what is it that with the spin bowlers that makes them more economical than we look at those the bowling economy there, and it's pretty much taken up there by the spin bowling stocks. What makes them so effective in terms of economy in a short format game like that on like T20s?
I mean, I guess like someone like say Sheath Khan is hard to pick, right? So, and he bowls at a pace that you cannot play off the pitch. So someone like him being economical makes sense. And then a lot of left arm spinners as well who kind of darted in. And basically, in my opinion anyways, the spin bowlers tend to do better because A, there's not a lot of pace to work with. B, it's even their bad balls sometimes to them rather than waiting for a bad ball. Like say in Test cricket, if you miss your length, people will put you away because their first intention is to get behind the ball. Whereas in T20 cricket, people are trying to score runs, and that's where sometimes if you miss the length, they kind of still get away with it. In my opinion, anyways.
That sounds like when we're telling the young kids, like I'm talking about like my son, 9-year-olds, and it's just like, don't try and overhit the ball. Don't try and hit the ball too hard, which is what they're always trying to do. Is just play your shot, and the power will come with it. That's what it sounded like. The fact that the batsmen are just trying to hit the ball so hard that they end up not really getting it off the middle or getting no power into the shot. Nope, he's frozen.
So what's your take on it, Adrian?
Look, I think the first thing you've got to note about those spinners at the top of that list is they're all absolutely brilliant, right? So these aren't average spin bowlers. These are absolutely the best in the world. So I don't think you could just pretend it can happen to any spinner. I mean, these are the best of their profession. But it's just like you. It's just the fact, I think, that they can take the pace off the ball. And I think then it's also to do with the types of wickets that they're playing on, where they can get as the wickets get slower and they can get a little bit of purchase, it becomes increasingly more difficult to get these types of bowlers away. They all sort of attack the stumps. They're sort of bowlers that they don't really give any sort of width or anything like that. So they're always at the stumps. And I think that I just think it's a combination of being very good spinners and the right conditions is probably the reason.
So we're going to do a little bit of crystal ball gazing here. What are we picking? Let's, Adrian, give me a top four. So we've got the Mumbai Indians already there. Obviously, I think the Royal Challengers and Delhi Capitals. Who are you picking in that top four in the order there? What do you got?
Well, obviously, Mumbai, I think, statistically are number one. That's just going to happen anyway.
This is going to happen anyway, yep.
So who's going to win out of Delhi, Bangalore? Well, geez, toss a coin. I think, I don't know. Delhi have been impressive. I think I think they could come good there. And then it just comes down to whether the Sunrisers could beat Mumbai. You say Mumbai on form. So I think my top four in order will be Mumbai, Delhi, Royal Challengers, Kolkata. That's what I'm going for.
Cheers.
Well, I hope the Sunrisers beat Mumbai to make it more sort of exciting for me. I mean, I follow Hyderabad. But I Mumbai Indians should be the top pick anyways. And then you've got, I hope that Sunrisers Hyderabad sort of win that game and, finish in top two. Delhi Capitals, good strike bowlers they've got. So in my opinion, Mumbai Indians, Delhi Capitals, Sunrisers Hyderabad, and then Royal Challengers Bangalore. So Kolkata might miss out, but let's see.
See what happens. Well, as Aaron said in the old chat rooms, it's like we need to get the original panel back and see how the predictions went from before the tournament started. That'll make interesting reading. I don't know if we can get Ajay back on after the Kings 11 missed out.
That was a sting, wasn't it?
There was look. We'll sort of see how that pans out. Look, next week by the time we're back on air, will be. I think we would have found out who the finalists are. I don't. If the final is on the 10th, then that'll be the day after our show. So we'll be able to basically preview the final next week at this time roughly. So look forward to seeing who actually makes it through. Well, I've made notes here on who you guys have said. Actually, go. Who are you picking in the final? Like, who's going to make it to the final? Not the winner of the final, but who's going to make it to the final?
I'm going Mumbai and Delhi.
Mumbai, Delhi, and Taz. Look, he's conveniently frozen.
Yeah, Mumbai.
No, just lost you again. I'm gonna go with Hyderabad, Mumbai and Hyderabad. Oh, we've totally lost him. He's blanked out. Don't you love technology?
I can hear you guys.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's...
You're back. He's back. He's back. Here we go. Okay, so we got Mumbai. Who was your second team?
Delhi.
Delhi. Okay, Mumbai and Delhi. Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, and you had Adrian, Mumbai and
Delhi.
Delhi is Delhi. Oh, okay.
Delhi, yeah,
Oh,
so.
oh, come on, guys. Where's the argument? You're supposed to. Where's that going on? Now, look. Oh, yeah. We'll give me a few minutes here, and so we'll look forward to that game next week. But in the meantime, next we'll go on to a bit of international cricket that's been happening. And I'm just give me a moment, and I'll try and get the score charts off. Now, Taz, you've been watching of the Pakistan Zimbabwe series. What are your thoughts so far in terms of how it's panned out?
Well, I guess like the first thing is Zimbabwe's actually brought in a strong squad. Like, they're all key players are there, or most of them anyways. So which kind of makes it the series quite exciting. Pakistan is being sort of given opportunity to in between a few young guys, which is a good sign for Pakistan, just to try new faces at home. So I think Pakistan won both the games comfortably. Taylor scored 100 in the first one, got man of the match. And Shaheen Shah took a 6 for and a 4 for, I think. So he's taken, I think, last 4 games, he's taken 16 wickets.
Wow. that's a fair bit. So so batting first, Pakistan with 281 for 8. Now I saw the end of this innings, and from what I gathered from the commentators, they were sort of like Pakistan were actually on target to get 300. So they sort of like lost a few wickets towards the end. Was that fair, or was that did I get the wrong end of the stick? Like everything on the show tonight.
No, I think they probably didn't start as like with Imam Ul-Haq, who obviously in 75 ball 58. So I think they just took time early on, and then they pushed it towards the end. So, but 300 would have been a obviously par score. But Zimbabwe still, it was a closer game than it looks when you're watching it.
Right, Brendan Taylor with 112 for Zimbabwe. Obviously the rock in the innings that sort of like everybody batted around.
Yeah, and he got man of the match as well. So and not Shaheen Afridi, so which means that he actually sort of obviously fought well.
I thought that only happened in Australia, where the losing team gets the man of the match. So, any sort of special moments out of the game that in that first ODI?
I mean, this Brendan Taylor, obviously his 100 and Shaheen Shah's 5 for. There's a guy called Haris Rauf. He played in the Big Bash last year. He's a tape ball cricketer from Pakistan, but he's just recently made his name in this cricket. So he's made his one-day debut and went for, I think, first 4 overs went for 40. But he came back strong. So that was his debut, one-day international debut. So
I'll bring up the full scorecard, actually. There we go. And so he, there we go. So he ended up with, so you're saying his first 4 overs went for 40?
Yes, yeah. So he came back quite strong.
Yeah, so the next 6 overs went for odd 17, basically. So good recovery.
Yeah.
Right, and then sort of we move on to the, I'll just bring up, as you can see, I'm well prepared for tonight's show. my normal sort of preparation was not being able to be done. I'll step up my game for next time. Sorry everybody. And the second game, what's happened here? That's a bit of a low scoring affair.
Yeah, I mean, what's his name? Iftikhar Hussain. So he's like well, he's more than a part time, but he's like a short format, like the guy who would be your sixth bowler, and he took a fifer, I think. So I guess like one of those days where the spin bowler does the magic, and he took the 5 wickets.
Right,
But it was a below par. I think they scored 200.
Yeah, 206 Zimbabwe scored off the 45 overs,
so
which is
not
rather
enough
surprising
runs,
when you
not
look at
enough runs.
you got Sean Williams 75 off 70, and Brendan Taylor again 36 off 45. So if I'll do the why don't I just bring up the full scorecard here? So yeah, lots of wickets all the way through, isn't it? I mean, when you only got 206, it's like wickets falling regularly.
Yeah. And that to the part timer as well. So.
Yeah. Was it a struggle early on in terms of getting the run rate going that sort of caused the pressure in the middle of the innings?
I don't know. It's like sometimes you target the fifth or sixth bowler, and I think that's probably what happened and didn't work.
The part timers. Yep. And was it played at the same ground as the first one?
Yeah, I think Rawalpindi, and next game is in Lahore.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and
next
then
game is in Lahore,
so basically Pakistan cruised to the total, didn't they? Really, with the loss of 4 wickets and only in the 35th over, a nice easy victory. Everybody sort of chipping in apart from Rizwan.
Yeah, there's a guy called Heather Ali. So he made his debut. He's already played. He played against England in the T20s and scored a 50 on debut. So this is his one-day international debut. I think he got an interesting thing happened was he had an inside edge.
Right.
But the umpire gave him out. But the Snicker meter.
Nope. Obviously,
sorry,
yep, back again.
I've lost you. You probably lost me.
We lost you there for a bit. Yeah,
Hello?
yeah. Seems like the internet is not working in Milford too well today. No, well, that's so. What we've got it's a three match series. So we've got one more ODI left, and that is tomorrow night actually. So tomorrow night, the dead rubber in Rawalpindi. Is there any? We expecting any changes in the players now that basically the series has been won?
I hope so, but the current sort of under Misbah hack, they've been really tight and not making a lot of changes. But I hope they do, and for the last game, especially the young guys who've been sort of sitting out. I hope they give them a chance, and still an international game, although it's Zimbabwe, but still an international game, and it would be good for them to sort of rest your main guys and give your sort of guys at the bench a bit more sort of chance.
Right. And then we move into 3 T20 games, and will we see many changes to the squad? For either, I mean, Zimbabwe's obviously taken over touring squad, but for Pakistan, will we see many changes? Do you think between the ODI and the T20?
I think Hafiz and Shoaib Malik might come back, and they obviously senior guys. And the T20 World Cup is not too far. I think it's about 6 months, if not wrong. So I think Pakistan would definitely be looking to sort of try their first choice players for the T20s because of the World Cup in the sort of not so distant future.
Right. Yep. So basically, they will need to try out some. I mean, you don't want to go to the T20 World Cup and not know what your options are, do you? You want to be able to basically throw some of the players around and see how they perform in an international environment. So it might be it's against Zimbabwe, but you still need to sort of try them out in the game itself.
Yeah, Pakistan has been lacking finishes. Like, the guys, like, back in the day, we had guys who could sort of finish at the back end. But right now, Pakistan have tried a few, Asif Ali, Imad Wasim, they've tried a few guys. But Pakistan, not very good in last 4 overs. And I hope that they sort of, either one of the young players they're giving a go, they might sort of, obviously take the opportunity and score big runs. But I think that Pakistan's probably the area they're not very strong at is finishing to last 4 overs. So we'll see what they come up with in this series.
Well, it's certainly they're going to have to go looking in the tape ball cricket a bit more by the sounds of it, and try and pluck some kids out of there.
Probably.
Get Imran Khan to find a few out. He's not doing anything these days, is he? Just get him to find a few. Get Imran Khan to find a few players. He's not doing anything these days, is he?
Is the Prime Minister? Too much on his
Prime
plate.
Ministers have lots of time up their sleeve, don't they? So on a personal note, I understand you might actually end up rolling the arm over this weekend, Taz.
Yes. So Taran is away, and I'm sort of filling in for him. So
so you'll be getting out there for the QMU team playing in the what grade is it that you'll be playing in?
So the 2 days they play in the reserve grade. So we're playing Howick.
Yep.
Second team of Howick Pakuranga. So it'll be they're 110 for 5. So let's see how it goes. I think Adrian, are you playing for Cornwall?
I was just going to go there. You're rolling the arm over too, are you, Adrian? Getting out there?
I'm playing for Cornwall Reserve Minors, but we play in the Reserve Comp, so I could well be playing against you this year, Taz.
Oh, look forward to that. We'll have to know when that's coming up. we might have to have a special show all about the game on that one. So you play, Aaron saying you played last weekend.
Yeah, I played Colin Maiden #1 against the University Reserves. So it was great. They had a guy in their team, Wayne, who was 48. I'm 52. Another one of the Cornwall guys was 40, and then there's a whole heap of young players. So it's just great. I just loved. Keeps me young, young. Ashwin. I just love sort of mixing with the play. There was a lot of dice, a lot of cards, a lot of sort of chit chat this weekend as the rain fell.
Right.
But obviously, first and foremost, I love being out on the field. Just great. Yeah.
And then what? Just the bat. I mean, like obviously we know you as a batter. Are you rolling the arm over as well, Adrian?
I might bowl a couple of overs. Yeah, look, I'm not going to be. There's like 4 seamers and a couple of spinners, and I'm probably like the 5th. But if we're 2-day cricket, if you're in the field for 80 overs, I could well get a couple of overs. So, but certainly not a frontline bowler.
No. Oh, well, all the best to both of you. And thank you both for joining me on the show tonight. And look forward to having both of you back again on the show as regulars as well. And with Taz, we've always had you as a regular. And Adrian, hopefully we'll get you back regular now as well as the cricket season takes off. And we look forward to hearing about those battles on the local club grounds as well. So we'll see. We'll definitely keep everybody abreast of what's happening in that space as well. In saying that, if you are watching this, whether on recorded or live, and you're outside of Auckland, love to hear what's happening at club cricket level through the rest of New Zealand as well. Unfortunately, we are Auckland based, so we don't have those contacts. So reach out. We really do want to understand what's happening at club cricket in the rest of the country as well, not just in Auckland. It's just the fact that everybody lives here on the show. But anyway, thank you guys for being on the show tonight, and thank you all for tuning in and watching and listening, whether you're live or on podcast. Make sure you're tuning into New Zealand Sport Radio during the week. Obviously, during the day, we've got in the mornings, we've got New Zealand Sport Radio with the morning briefing. Paul, and unfortunately I haven't been able to be on the show recently with work commitments, but Paul's always there keeping you up to date with what's happening in the sports world. Your Monday nights, make sure you're back here listening and watching Swinging from the Hip, and we'll be bringing you your cricketing fix for the week. We've got our rugby shows coming along on the Fridays and Sunday nights, actually. Preview on Friday and a review on Sunday. this week, make sure you keep a note of the fact that the standoff will be on Thursday night, State of Origin on Wednesday, so they're not going to interrupt that, and they'll just come along and go over how that went down on the Thursday night. But for the best show of the week, make sure you tune in again next Monday night for Swinging from the Hip, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you very much.